Hi friends, it's Becky, and I want to share some earring designs using the Wicked Brew beading kit, jewelry design kit. It's from Softflex. It's their design challenge kit that they put together last month, and it has been so popular that it has sold out. However, the bead mixes that were included in this, both the pink and the green ones, are available for purchase at the Softflex site. There are extra ginkgos available for purchase. There are extras of these ceramic cats that I'm using. There are extras of these charms. There are extras of the bead strands that were created by just James Beads for this. So while the whole kit itself may be sold out, you may still be able to make all of these if you didn't get your hands on that kit just by purchasing some of those extras. And I'll put a link to the Softflex site down in the description below, and they have the next kit that is available for purchase that has not sold out yet, and that's the what is it? Thanks a Latte one, which looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to get it and open it. But for right now, I absolutely love this kit. It is so fun, and it is popular for a reason. Honestly, it's spectacular and I love it. So I'm going to be doing six earring designs. Just making sure I know how to count, guys. We're going to be doing 6 earring designs. I will have a link in the description if you want to skip past any of the earlier ones, or if you're like, oh no, I just want to go and watch just this one. You can find the timestamp for this in the description. You can skip past the others if you want. However, I know a lot of my friends who watch this channel love to just sit back with their projects and bead with me, so you are welcome to do that as well. Put your feet up and we'll make some earrings. Earrings are one of my favorite things to make. They are absolute joy to me, and I hope my friend Sharon is watching this and will let me know in the comments how many earrings she has made yet, because I always love hearing about that from her. So we're going to start with some of the easier designs, like stacking some beads on a head pin. Then we're going to do some designs where we attach a charm to a wrapped loop link, and I'll show you how to make that link. And then we will make a charm, basically, out of a bead by putting it onto a head pin with our little black cat there. That's for our kitty cat lovers. And then we'll also do a charm and a stacked beaded wrap link. So we're going to make all of those, and then we'll switch gears a little bit and do some designs that use beading wire. And I'm using the black onyx beading wire that came in this kit. Using some 22 gauge wire for the other designs. And let me think, there was one other thing that I was thinking about. Oh, you know what? I was going to do something different with that one, but that's okay. I totally forgot. But yeah, so I'm going to be using these ginkgos. I love these ginkgos. I've already bought from the extras because look at them. They're sparkly. They are sparkly. They're super cute. And these green matte finish beads that came in one of the bead kits or bead mixes. And then we're also going to be using some of these dagger beads and petal beads. We've got these pink faceted drops, some yellow turquoise, some sparkly rhinestone rondelles, and these sparkly acrylic beads. Again, we've got these ceramic black cat beads and these hearts. Now these table cut hearts, they are also listed as extras at the Softflex shop, so you could probably get some of those. And then on this one, we're going to be using both of these charms in this design to have a slightly asymmetrical earring on that. So the tools that I'm using are some round nose pliers, chain nose pliers, flush cutters, and I am using my magical crimper for crimping my beads that I'm using the beading wire on. I've got some 2x2 crimps that came in the kit. I have some 2mm head pins that I'm going to be using for some of these designs. And I've got some 11-0 seed beads that we're adding to this because they add a little bit of sparkle to some of these things. And these are just some crystal silver lined Toho 11-0 seed beads. This is one of my go-to seed bead colors. It is a fantastic thing to have in my stash. It's kind of a workhorse for me. So I'm just going to move some of these out of the way because it confuses my camera if they are right in front, and that way I can pull them over when it's time to create those earrings. Let's just move these guys out of camera shot. It's just going to take me a sec. But this is a really fun little making some earrings, having a good time with my beads, sort of an endeavor, and I hope that you have fun at creating with me if you decide to do so. I'm going to leave this guy here because he's what we're going to start with. Get these guys out of the way too. Alright. Now, the only things that we're using for this earring, earring number 1, is one of these crystal drops, a crystal rhinestone spacer, and one of these faceted rounds. This is about an 8mm round, and this came in either the bead mix or the strand. I can't remember which one it was, but I do have an unboxing if you wanted to watch it, where I describe each of the beads and where they came from. I'm also not using these in this design specifically, but all I'm going to be doing is taking my head pin and stacking these beads on. I'm going to put that spacer in between them, like so. And this is a really understated, very sort of elegant sort of design, the type of thing you might wear with a little black dress. Oop, I am actually, my head pin is slipping through the bottom of this bead. So what I'm going to do is grab one of these. I am going to be using these after all, it looks like. I'm going to grab a 11-0 seed bead. You can see it's just a little bit wider than that, but it's nice and subtle, so you can't really see from a distance that it adds too much to that, but that is going to keep that from sliding through and getting out of the way. Alright, so now that I've got these, I'm going to grab my round nose pliers and I'm going to make a loop. Now I'm pressing the back of the pliers just on the top of this, just resting it, not pressing it. This is slightly opened and I'm just tilting it and then closing the pliers. And when I close it, that's bending the wire back around that. I'm going to use my fingers and push the wire around like about maybe 1/5 of the way up from the bottom, pretty close to the points but not quite at the points. Then I'm going to rotate this around and keep going around like that so that it crosses over. And grab my pliers and start wrapping this wire around while it's on here. But yeah, simple, but yet these are going to be some great earrings you can just grab and wear whenever you want to feel a little bit fancy. You want to be fancy while you're eating breakfast cereal in your pajamas? Put these on. Sometimes I do things like that. Because you know what, just because you're not going anywhere is no reason why you can't dress up, right? And then once you've got that, you can add your, where is it? There it is, ear wire. For some reason I thought I moved it up there with the rest of my earring things. Get your ear wire on. And there we go. That was quick and easy. Only takes a couple of minutes to make a pair of earrings like that. Loving it. Cannot wait for the next one. Alright, so the next one is this one. And this one is so much sparklier, so much funner. I love pink and green together. So I am very happy that these all came together like this. So I'm going to be adding my little witch's hat on here, and we're going to do a wrapped loop link. Again, we don't need these, so I'm just going to scooch them out of the way, and maybe we'll just zoom in a little bit so you can watch how I do these wrapped loops. There we go. Alright. First step, grab your wire, and I like to work off the spool when I'm making my wrapped loops. Notice how kinked that wire is. I am straightening it out with my fingers. You can use a nylon jaw pliers to straighten out your wire as well. This gives me a chance to warm it up so that it's a little easier to work with. Although being 22 gauge wire, it is already fairly easy to work with. It is a dead soft wire. So I'm going to start by stacking my beads on in the order that I want. I'm going to put on my pink frosted round, a little green rondelle, a sparkly pink acrylic bead, another green rondelle, and another pink bead. And I'm going to make my first loop. I'm going to wrap it before we do our second loop and wrap it. This is the loop that the ear wire is going to go through. So I'm just grabbing my round nose pliers and doing a little bend in the wire to bend it over. And then I'm going to use my finger to push the wire over the top of my round nose pliers, rotate my pliers, and keep going all the way around. Now that I've got a little tail end of a scarf, I can wrap it around the neck of my wire. You can use a second set of pliers for this, or your fingers, depending on how much leverage you've got, how soft the wire is, and how you're doing with that. I often find it easier just to do that with my fingers rather than grabbing a second tool, but I will sometimes grab a set of pliers to do that if I don't have enough leverage for it. I'm going to measure 3 fingers down and then cut the wire, not your fingers, and that's going to give me enough wire for my second loop. And for my second wrapped loop, I'm going to hold my link right there so that I can see the roundness of the loop. And this is going to, the way I bend this will give me a perpendicular loop. So it'll be different if I want a parallel loop. If I want a parallel loop, I'm going to turn it so that it's facing that way. Since I want a perpendicular loop, I'm going to hold on to the wire right at the top of this stack of beads, bend it over the top of my pliers so that I've got some space between the bead and where my loop will be for wrapping. Then the same thing that I did with the first loop, I'm going to hold it with the round nose pliers, bring that loop up around the top, rotate the pliers, and keep going around. And now I've got a loop. Before I wrap it, I'm going to grab my charm, and I think I need to actually widen this up a little bit so that that charm slides on easier. So I'm just giving myself some extra room between this side of the loop and that side of the wire, so because it is a little bit of a thicker loop in here. And this little, I call these Hershey Kisses witch hats because they've got a little curl up at the top. I don't know if any of you call them that too. But there we go. So now that I've got that on there, I can hold on to my loop and extremely awkwardly start wrapping around until I get to my beads. Alright. And I did the same thing with this wand charm. And now it's just the different charms that make these slightly asymmetrical. But I think they're super cute and it would be a fun thing to wear to the theater when I go see Wicked for Good. Like that. Or maybe I'll wear the other pair. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I could have like several costume changes in between now and then. Let me add our ear wire, and now I've got another pair of earrings. And I love these sparkly guys here because they are acrylic, so they're very lightweight, but they add so much size and so much sparkle to earrings without adding a lot of weight. And I love that with them. Alright, let's get out our next one, and that is going to be our loving black cat earrings. And you know, I want to take a minute to talk about black cats here. They have a stigma, and a lot of people just assume that they are unlucky or something like that. And so cats in the shelter who are black cats, they are adopted at a far, far lower rate than other cats, any cat of any color. And they are euthanized at kill shelters at about 74% in size. So if you're looking for a little furry buddy that you're not allergic to, I am allergic to cats, but if you are and you want to go to a shelter and adopt one, look for a black cat, and then you can stare into a void and the void will stare back and maybe purr a little bit. So that's my little let's maybe think about kitties that we're adopting and maybe not have any stigma with our little black cats, because they're just kitties. They're just kitty cats, just like the other cats. And maybe they're a little harder to see when it's dark, but you know, they could be your little furry friend for life if you let them. Alright, let's go ahead and stick another seed bead onto our head pin, because I just want to show you the hole on these is large enough that they will slide right off. So we're going to stick one of our 11-0s right on here on top of the bottom of that. Get this guy in here. And then I'm going to put a couple of 11-0s on the top of this because it is going to help stabilize our cat so he doesn't wobble so much. If you notice here, they are going inside the hole on that kitty. I just added, that's 4 of them, and 3 of them are inside and the rest are right there. So that's going to hold this here and keep him from being too wobbly on here. And I'm going to make a wrapped loop link, or wrapped loop on top of here, the same way I did with the others. Just kind of bend that wire over, bring it around the top, rotate, and then wrap. And again, you can use your fingers or you can use another set of pliers to do your wrapping. There we go. Now I've got my little kitty cat. I'm going to do a wrapped loop link with my heart. It's a very simple, easy design with just a little ceramic dangle and a wrapped loop link with a single bead. And I'm going to do this the same way I did the others. We're going to pop the bead on first, make a loop at the top, wrap, wrap, wrap. Alright, that wrap is a little bit funky, so I'm just going to give it a very gentle smush to tidy that up. I think that could be my mantra when you're doing wire work, is use gentle smooshes. Smoosh gently. But also for me, if you're going to smoosh me, smoosh gently. There we go. And then we'll do a loop at the back, add our cat, hold on to our loop, and do more wrapping. Here we go. Perfect, our little black kitty love earrings. Yay! Alright, now let's switch gears and go back to some more sparkly designs. And for this one, we're going to create a dangle using one of these fat bottom beads, these sparkly teardrops. They're not really teardrops, they're more like sort of a brio shape, but that's okay. But now we're going to be using some of the gemstone beads that came in this one. We've got that yellow turquoise. And so for this, I'm going to be making my drop first using my head pin, just like I did with the others. Pop that on the head pin and then do a wrapped loop right here. Wrap that wire around. Snip off my excess. And now we're going to make a wrapped loop link using these beads. So first my round, then my rondelle, then my sparkly acrylic sky, another rondelle, and the yellow turquoise. Now wrapped loop on the top, bend it around, bring it around, and wrapping, wrapping, wrapping. That wrap is very messy, so I'm just going to tidy that up a little bit. There we go. That looks much better. When you tidy up a wrap like that, you're not going to be squeezing when you do that. You're just gently holding it in the pliers and then giving a little twist like that. And that's going to just tighten that up, make it look a little neater. And then you can give it a gentle smush if you need it, if it's got spaces between the wraps. Count 3 fingers down. Snip the wire, not your fingers. And then we're going to do our second loop right here. There we go. Bring it around, but don't wrap it yet. I always forget, by the way. When I get around to that point, I start getting into a groove and I'm like, okay, time to wrap now. So part of this is me reminding you not to wrap it yet, and part of it is me reminding me not to wrap it yet, because I have definitely had to take things apart when I've forgotten to attach my dangle or to attach the next link in something. It is something that I do on a frequent basis. There we go. Snip, snip, snip. You could, even because they are so similar, take one of these earrings and wear it with one of these to have some asymmetry. Or do a BFF thing where one of you wears this one and the other one wears that one. You could absolutely do that. Alright, let's move these guys out of the way. And now it's time to switch gears. Let me move my wire working tools out of the way. I am still going to be using my flush cutter, but now we're going to get our crimper over here and some beading wire. Now I've got about 6 inches of beading wire. It is a little bit much for this design, but I wanted to have more wire than I might need rather than less for this. And then we've got 2 spike beads, 3 of these pink opal petal beads, and a couple of these green frosted rounds. And then I am going to be using the 11-0 seed beads for this, so I'm just going to grab my wire, and you can either put a bead stopper on one end or just hold it with your hands while you string on some of these beads. I'm going to start with an 11-0, and I'm just going to alternate each of these beads with an 11-0 as I string them on. So the first ones are going to be the frosted beads, and an 11-0, a petal bead, and an 11-0, a spike. These spike beads are great, actually. And an 11-0, another petal bead, another spike bead, and then a petal bead, and then the last bead for us to add is going to be that green bead, but we're going to want to put on an 11-0, the green bead, and close it up with another 11-0 at the end. Alright, so now we've got that on there. I'm going to grab this out here because I'm going to want to try to match my loops to the same size as this one. So I'm going to need this to compare, but it is going to be more of a figure 8 sort of loop where we've got a round loop at the top and a round loop at the bottom. And one of them is going to be bigger than the other. So to get this type of loop, where's my crimp? There it is. I'm going to put my crimp on one of my strands of wire, and then I'm going to put the other end of the wire through the crimp, going in the opposite direction so they crisscross through that crimp. And then I'm going to pull that one a little bit longer than the other, and I'm going to circle around so that I'm going back through that crimp, going in the same direction that this loop is going through. Like that. And sometimes you've got to use a little bit of finesse to get that wire through a third time. There we go. Now, for this top loop, the most important thing to think about is that it be large enough that you can fit your crimper through in order to be able to crimp it. So I know because it worked for this one that that is the right size for that. Alright, and then for this other loop down here, I'm going to pull it a little tighter than I would like it to show you what it does to these spike beads, because the spike beads are going to kind of see how they bend backwards now instead of the other way, because that loop is too small. It doesn't have enough slack for them. So if I pull out the wire, they start to dangle a little more normally. And I just want to make sure that my loops are about the same. There we go. Alright, so that's about right. So yeah, so when you're using spike beads, they are very temperamental when it comes to the tension of the wire, especially if there's too much curve. They'll bend a different way from the way you want them to hang. But that's some curve, but not too much, so they will dangle the way that I want them to. And I'm going to take my magical crimper, and I'm going to make sure that this crimp is centered right there in my crimper. It's got that little divot right there. Make sure it's centered. Give that a little smush. And then go at a 90-degree angle on the crimp. Make sure it's centered again. Give it another smush. And then just kind of hit it from different angles. This is one of the reasons I wanted to make sure that it is big enough that we can rotate this around and have this loop go over the top so that we can make our round little ball of crimp using that magical crimper. And then we can snip off our excess wire. And add, I'm just using this as pliers because there's this flat part near the end. Sometimes it's easier than reaching over and grabbing my other pliers since this tool is just right here. And there we go. We have another earring. I love the watermeloniness of this. It is something that I could probably wear through the summer too and just be happy to have. It is fantastic. Because it's giving watermelon. I love those. Alright, and then our last but not least, we're going to be using some 2-hole beads. Yay, 2-hole beads! But we're also going to be using some beading wire. And for this is about a 4-inch length of beading wire that I got cut off. But we've got our sparkly pink ginkgos. And if you want some inspiration on other things to do with ginkgos, I have used them in some of my bead weaving designs, and I am going to be doing a bracelet using some of these ginkgos, so look for that later. Speaking of bracelets, if you want to watch some bracelets being made using this bead kit, you can check out Jenny's bracelet trios. She used that kit and she did one that was green flavored, one that was pink flavored, and then another bracelet that was a mixture of the two of them. And I love Jenny's bracelet trios. They are so much fun the way that she does those. So I'll put a link to that in the description as well. And in fact, I'll put a link to my Ginkgo Kiss bracelet design. You might not be able to, you may need to add some extra beads into that design, but you could possibly use these ginkgos to do that one. So I've got my beading wire and I've got my ginkgos and my, I'm just going to make sure that both holes on my ginkgo are clear because it is a 2-hole bead. Sometimes like a wash or something will clog up one of the holes on these. It's a totally normal thing to happen with 2-hole beads. Sometimes you can clear them out, sometimes not. It's usually a good idea to check that both holes are clear before you start creating something when you're using 2-hole beads. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is pick up 3 11-0 seed beads and put that somewhere sort of middle-ish. It's totally okay if one side is longer than the other. In fact, it's going to be better if it is, but I'm going to adjust that after I get my first ginkgo on, because I'd like to hold both of these ends of my wire together and place my ginkgo on. I'm going to go through the round side rather than the pointy side first, and the holes go through the wings of the ginkgo like that. And let's go ahead and pull one of these up a little bit longer than the other, and there'll be a good reason for that when I get to the end as to why I want one that's longer than the other. Alright, now on each strand of this wire I am going to add 2 11-0s, my green bead, and 2 11-0s. So that's going to be on each strand, so I just did that on this strand. Let's swap over to the next and get our 2 11-0s, my green bead. Whoop, where are you going, buddy? And 2 11-0s. Alright, and then we're going to put our ginkgo on, and I'm going to go point end first on this one. And then add 2 11-0s to each strand. So that's 1 2 and 1 2. It would help if they stayed on once they got on the wire. 1, 2. There we go. Alright, now we're going to do a teardrop shape loop. For this one we did a circle shape loop, and that was where we had it go all the way around and become a circle. So for a teardrop shape loop, I'm going to grab my crimp, put it on both ends of my wire at the same time, going in the same direction, like that. And I'm going to take my longer wire, bend it around, and put it back through the loop, or back through the crimp, going in the opposite direction that both wires are going. There we go. Got some beads in the way. I'm just adjusting the wire to make sure that this stays good. Doesn't get too bendy in the wrong direction. And then I want to compare my loop on this one to my loop on the other and adjust it so that they are going to be even. Oop, that's a little too much. There we go. That's going to be just right. Okay. And now I'm going to grab my crimper and we're going to crimp this. I'm going to center our crimp, make sure we're not squishing any of these seed beads, make sure we've got room on the side there. Give that a smush, 90-degree angle, and then other angles. All the way around until we have a nice little ball of crimp. Alright, and I do have a magical crimper tips and tricks tutorial if you would like to watch that. Might help if you are new to it, if you need a little extra work on it. So let me get this ear wire on here, and then we'll bring down our earrings to take a look at everything that we made during this video. Alright, let's zoom out a little bit more. And so we've got our hoops. We've got our Black Cat Love earrings. We've got some Elphaba and Glinda earrings. And we've got some simple, sophisticated monochrome earrings that we can play around with and wear with whatever. Alright, again, I'm going to have links in the description to Softflex, to the new page, and to their kits page. So the kits page is where you can find the extra bead mixes and strands for these. The new page is where you're going to find the charms, the cats, the ginkgos, and any of the extra beads that they have available for sale. And then I'll also put a link to the videos that I described in this video, which would be my unboxing, Jenny's bracelet trio, and my Ginkgo Kiss tutorial, and my magical crimper tips and tricks. So we'll have those links in the description. And if you like what you see, hit the like button. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. And until next time, my friends, happy beading.